All right, we've gone big on a guest this week. It's Drewzy here to chat Freo North.
Under pressure, but it's picked up by Archer again. He tries to crash through the pack. He does. He got through Maxwell, and he has a flying shot for goals. And that is a magnificent Glenn Archer goal. 2 in a minute to the man who's the single.
Welcome back to the Further North podcast, everybody. Massive game, our home apparently over in WA, which is very, very exciting. We've got Drewzy on. We've gone big, and we've got the biggest guest we possibly could. Thank you for joining me on the podcast, mate. Welcome aboard the Further North pod.
It's a pleasure to be here, mate. We just did a bit of chatting off air about how North have been looking recently. They're over West, had a good win against West Coast, or maybe not a good win, but you got the 4 points, which is the most important thing. And knowing how we play after the bye, you're in with a red hot sniff on Saturday night. So, keen to unpack the game ahead.
Well, look, knowing how we play every week, mate, you're in with a big chance as well. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. It is a joke amongst North Melbourne fans, though, that Alistair Clarkson is the mayor of WA because we actually have a pretty good record over there.
Yeah, you do.
Which is, I mean, look, we don't win many games outside of WA as well, so that is also our problem. But let's talk about you and the Fremantle Dockers. What's your relationship like at the moment? Because they teased a bit last year, didn't start very well, but they're getting a little bit of form right now. How are you feeling about the Dockers currently?
Yeah, I think before the bye, we played our 3 best weeks of footy we've played all year. We sit 7-5 at the moment, with some terrible losses in there. The St Kilda one stung particularly. But I think we're well positioned. I think we're really set up well for the rest of the year. I think the fate of our season is now in our hands. We've got North, Essendon and St Kilda, our next 3, all at home. I'm happy with where we're at. As I sort of mentioned before, we've been terrible after the bye. I can't remember the last time we won after the bye. I think it might have been 2021. But yeah, we've been really bad for that. So happy we can play North after the bye. Not that we're looking past yous because, you guys have had some good wins at Optus over the years. So definitely not looking past yous at all. But I think we're in a pretty good spot to get the dub on Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, look, that game on the weekend with us and West Coast, like we did chat about it a little bit before, didn't fill anyone with confidence. Just as a neutral, because we haven't had a neutral voice on the pod about this game, give me a little rundown of what you witnessed on Sunday afternoon at Hands Oval.
Yeah, so I live streamed on the True Footy channel with fellow kangaroo Dylan Alexander. And we're actually live streaming the Freo game Saturday night as well. So one of us will be upset after the game, but man, that was honestly the most pathetic game of football I've ever seen, particularly from North Melbourne. I don't get, Josh, why you guys are so shit when you have the talent on your list that you do. I'm looking at that midfield of Sheasel, Wardlaw, LDU, Jai Simpkin and Cherry tapping it down. There is no reason why that midfield shouldn't be playing good week in, week out. There is no excuse for it. Coming up against a very young West Coast midfield with Hoff and Elijah Hewitt, who are good players, to be fair to them. But with the talent that you guys have now, that midfield performance was pathetic, to say the least. I don't think there's enough people that want to put their hand up and get the job done at North. And if you guys are no combin heading into the Dockers game, I think our forwards are going to be licking their lips because I know we're going to hunt and win the stoppage battle if your midfielders show up like they did against West Coast. But I'm expecting the best North side to show up. I'm expecting Sheasel, Wardlaw and LDU to put on a clinic. Jai Simpkins done a number on us before as well. If those guys can play 4 quarters, it'll be a tough game. But I know our mids will show up week in, week out, which is good as a Dockers fan. So, you're lucky to get the win in the end because that was an absolute spoon bowl for the ages.
You know, that is spot on. That's what we just talked about on the review pod of that game. Was if that's not the most classic spoon bowl you've ever seen in your life, I don't know what is. I mean, look, that win gets us out of spoon bowl contention now. At this stage, we won't be playing spoon bowl. It'll be Richmond and West Coast next time. But you're totally spot on. Our midfield was so bad, and that is meant to be our best area. And when it's on, it looks great, and when it's not, they're the biggest bunch of passengers you've ever seen in your life. And I said on the pod before, that is probably the worst performance I've ever seen from our midfield in its current state. LDU didn't show up at all. Sheasel turned up in the last quarter. Power's pretty solid. Wardlaw barely touched the footy. It was actually the young guys that got us over the line with Foss and McKercher doing their stuff through the guts in the end. So, look, I do worry about the Dockers. I won't lie to you. I don't know many Dockers players. I work at a barbershop in Mitcham, and we were doing a game once, name as many current Fremantle players as you can, and we got to about, and I kept saying Nat Fyfe, and honestly, it's one of those. It's one of those, and I don't even know if he's in the team or not, but
Wow.
but they're good. Hey, look, they started a bit flat, but it does make me worry. With some of the players that you do have. I've watched a little bit more of Freo in the last couple of weeks, and they do know how to turn it on. But it is a side I feel like can sometimes be inconsistent. But I agree with what you're saying, especially if Comben is out. Tracy might have a field day, and you've got some decent bigs in that area. But don't count out Toby Pink, mate. This guy just held Oscar Allen to 0 goals, and genuinely, he has been undroppable in the last 6 weeks. So we were all thinking Toby Pink is barely going to play a game again. He's probably been our best defender so far. So look. All I need you to do is come back on the pod and say Toby Pink is the best defender in the AFL if he keeps Josh Tracy to 0 goals.
Yeah, that Oscar Allen performance was pitiful, to be honest. And I can say that as a Freo fan because our key forwards have been great this year. Not only Josh Tracy, but Paddy Voss as well, who's come into the side. He's a bit of a nuisance, throws his weight around, super strong, super competitive. And Jai Amos is a bit of an X-factor player for us, I reckon. As a key forward, he can hurt you in a few different ways. So, yeah, one of our key forwards has to have a big game. I'm not sure what the forecast is, but then again, our smalls, I think, they're having a really good season. Our smalls, Murphy Reed out of the draft. Shea Bolton is one of the most dangerous players in the competition. Isaiah Dudley should be back for this game, and Sam Switkowski, another small forward for us, had one of his best games I've ever seen him play against Gold Coast in the last time out. So our forwards should be licking their lips. It's just going to be how much we can really get on top of that midfield battle, because if we can eliminate you guys in that aspect, I'm not sure you're going to have an answer for our forwards. You mentioned Colby McKercher there and Finn O'Sullivan. Definitely had a bit of poise against West Coast, and particularly McKercher I thought was important for you. But in your forward line, I think Paul Curtis has had a massive year this season. Been one of the better players in the comp, one of the most improved players in the league. And Nick Larkey, he's a certified goal kicker. Not sure if he does much else other than kick goals, but you guys do have weapons in this team if they can put it all together. So, yeah, again, not looking past you, but what do you think those young stars can bring out against the Dockers?
Yeah, well, you're right. They did step up a lot, and I do think our forward line mix is pretty dangerous. But if the midfield keeps delivering like it did on the weekend, it just won't get anything. Like Paul Curtis and Zerha, I think, are really good one-on-one. If we can isolate them and bomb the ball in, I'm pretty happy with it. But Larkey kicked 0 goals against the Eagles, and he's been a bit down on form. And look, we've still won a few games without him, or at least been in games without him being at his absolute best. If he gets off the chain, we know what he can do. But I don't know. You're right. If every area of the ground clicks for us, I think we can be really dangerous. And I hope that's just a maturity thing, or I also hope we're still learning our system and still trying to learn how to play football. But the times we've put it together, we look really good. We just can guarantee that it won't be for 4 quarters. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, PC and Zerha are a bit of a matchup nightmare for teams, because if you put someone bigger on them, I think they can beat you at ground level. And if you put someone smaller, I think physically they can both do a job. But outside of that, every single time I do these previews, we always come back to the midfield battle, and it's totally right. Like, if our midfield even played at 50% of what I know they can, I think we win that game pretty comfortably. Just decided that they didn't even catch the flight over to Perth, apparently. So, yeah, look, I don't think we're no chance in this game, but I'm definitely not very confident, especially after watching what I did on the weekend. But to throw a question back at you, what is something you think the Dockers do really, really well? What have you been nailing this year, or what has made you be a lot more consistent over the last 3 or 4 weeks?
Well, the last 3 weeks particularly, you're speaking of that sort of inconsistent quarter-to-quarter effort. That's something that we've really brought in the last month of footy. So 4-quarter effort against GWS, Port Adelaide and the Suns. The Suns did get on top for a period of that game, but it's just our effort and our ability to hunt. That's what our game is really built off. And that's what I mainly didn't see in that Spoon Bowl game against West Coast from your mob. So, yeah, just our hunt and our ability to win the ball not get our first hands to it necessarily. Last year we were a really good clearance team. This year we've probably taken a hit a little bit. But after that that first possession post clearance, Bolton, Brayshaw, Sarong and Jackson are just hunting, turning the ball over and getting the ball going our way with Wagner and Jordan Clark coming off half back. So that's probably what we're doing really well. You mentioned Curtis and Zerha there, who had good games against West Coast, a couple players out of the bunch. But we do have good defenders in terms of being able to play tall or small. So that sort of matchup for like Curtis or Zerha, I think we could send like a Heath Chapman to, a Luke Ryan, Josh Draper, Carl Warner. They can all sort of punch above their weight, but they're good at ground level as well. So I think we've got those matchups covered. But again, you don't know what side's going to show up after the bye, and maybe you guys take a little bit of confidence after that win against West Coast as well.
Well, look, I'm hoping, mate. I'm grabbing onto any straw I possibly can at this sort of point. But yeah, look, it is a funny one because even though I think everything you said is correct, and I think we're obviously going to be heavy underdogs in this game, we do kind of play well at Optus, and I don't know why, because at the end of the day, it's an over with some sticks at the end. So I really don't understand why we would turn up at a game like that. But if we were to hurt you, what area do you think we could get on top, or does Freo have a vulnerability that you think we might be able to take advantage of?
I don't think we have a vulnerability. If we show up, like, we'll win, I think. I don't think there's an area of our game that really needs massive improvement. I think we tackle well enough to be good off the turnover. I think we've got good enough personnel in the midfield to win the stoppage battle. And yeah, I think our forwards are pretty potent. So I don't think there's a weakness. The only thing that's going to let us down is if we don't show up, in my view. So it's a bit of a shit answer. Your best chance of winning is big Tristan Cherry having a day out against Darcy and Jackson. He'll have 2 rucks to go up against for the day. Just hitting it down to Wardlaw, running through the middle. And maybe Sheasel plays a masterclass in the front half for you. But I don't think there's too many areas of weakness where you can get us, to be honest. But we'll see how the tactical battle unfolds in the coach's box, because obviously Clarkson has what it takes to be a top-level coach. I know North fans are sort of criticising him at the moment. Not sure you guys have much of an identity under Clarkson, but we know there's a good coach there that can really do some things tactically. So maybe the upper hand is in the coach's box.
Well, look, that'd be great to see. I mean, it's interesting with the Clarkson sort of stuff. I think the internet definitely feels like it's anti-Clarkson, but every North fan I sort of talk to is pretty happy with what he's doing. I mean, look, I can only give my opinion on it, and let me know what you think just from a neutral, but I think Clarkson's been brilliant for us, and he's realistically only about 18 months into his coaching journey with us. His first year was sort of rubbed out with all of the Hawthorn stuff going on, and you know, he's had about a season and a half to take what I believe is one of the worst lists of all time into being somewhat competitive, which I think is a massive improvement from where we're at. I mean, I've said so many times on the pod that we're not rebuilding a list, we're rebuilding an entire club. And if you don't build it off the field, it doesn't click on the field. And the amount of change we've had under Clarko, the amount of young guns we've drafted under his guidance, I think he's set us up, and he still needs at least another couple of years to be able to get us to anything near moving up the ladder. I still think we're 3 to 5 years away from making finals, which makes some North fans absolutely shudder. But that's just realistic to me. Like, we're starting from practically the lowest point you could be in AFL, and we're slowly building it up. And I've seen big improvement this year. The West Coast game was absolutely horrendous, but I'm trying not to let that cloud my judgment of what's going on. I mean, at this point last year, we were 0-11, you know, and we've won 3.5 games, nearly knocked off the Lions in the draw.
Yeah.
And we haven't really been smashed. Our percentage is over 20% higher. So there is improvement, but that being said, it doesn't mean we're coming out winning many more games. But hey, 3.5 instead of 0 is a massive improvement for me. So, is there a player in particular on North that worries you, or who do you think could get off the chain? Because, I don't know, we were talking about the midfield battle before, and we dominated clearance and dominated hitouts, but when the midfielders got the ball, they did absolutely nothing with it. Is that an area that you're looking at, or an individual you're looking at, or is there a different person on the ground that you think is a bit of a matchup nightmare for the Dockers?
Yeah, I think Colby McKercher's the player at the moment for you guys that seems to be able to break the game open. So we definitely need to do a number on him. And just, we need to wear Cherry down. We need to get on top of that ruck contest battle, which I think we can. Those would probably be the two main areas. But no, it's interesting what you say, like Clarkson rebuilding a club, not just a list. That's very true. And I don't think you'd rather anyone at the helm more than a 4-time premiership coach. He knows what it takes. It's going to take some time. But we need to see some more consistent performances from these guys. Like, it's not going to be on, or it's tough for it to be on guys like McKercher and Sheasel at such a young age to pull you guys through the mud. It's pretty rough going. But yeah, I think back to your question, I think McKercher, if Sheasel can get going, I don't think his form's been that great this year, but McKercher and Cherry probably the ones that are going to get it done for you guys, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, look, I think the floor has risen at North a lot. A lot of the guys last year that could be considered passengers or not pulling their weight, I think the floor has been risen, but we're not getting the Larkies, the LDUs and the Sheasels. They're still playing well. They're just playing well under par from what we know they can do. So, and we say this a lot of weeks.
Inconsistency.
Well, that's right. Yeah. And we're still, but the positive for us, and once again, sort of, finding the positives where there aren't heaps, but we're still performing pretty well. I know the West Coast game didn't look like it, but we did win that game. And you look at other games, we're not getting smashed like we were last year, and that's without those guys firing. We lost to the Power by 9, we drew with the Lions, and then we lost to the Bombers by 3 points, all in those 3 weeks. And we're pretty competitive against Collingwood with 3 quarters who are just, winning against everybody at the moment. So, the performances are there. And I think if we can ever get those guys firing again, and how, I don't know, it's halfway through the season. So it's pretty alarming that we're halfway through the year and those guys still haven't hit their form. If we can do that, I think that's where the jump comes from. But seeming to get the floor being raised and then the icing on top sort of, taking us over the line and getting us more wins doesn't seem to be there. So how do you do that? I don't know. I mean, going back to the Clarkson stuff and what you were talking about, like, maybe the coaching battle is the thing. And if he can be the coach we know he can be, which once again, that isn't saying he hasn't been good. I think he's been fantastic for us over the time. But, if he can get both of those assets firing, we can be a super competitive team. But until that happens, I'm going to be sitting here watching, hopefully, no more spoon bowls, but spoon bowl quality football, which isn't a very good time for me.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Let me ask you, like, in those wins against the D's and the draw against Brizzy, what went well for you? Because that's the form that you guys need to follow week to week. So what did you do well there that can challenge us?
They were very different sort of performances. I mean, the D's one, it was pretty competitive up until the last quarter, and everything North Ball was meant to be just seemed to click in one quarter of football. I mean, we couldn't lose a clearance, we couldn't miss a kick. It was fast paced, finding space and delivering well to our forwards instead of just bombing it in long and winning the contested ball. So our midfield just absolutely dominated, and that's the sort of stuff with, I guess, what we were talking about before, where if the midfield plays like we know they can, that's what they can do. And that was just almost like the stars aligned and our midfield just exploded and everyone was, I don't know, in fifth gear, to be honest. And then you go against the Lions where the Lions had plenty of opportunity to win that game. We said on the pod here a few times that I was surprised after the game that the focus was on more that North didn't win, more that the Lions didn't win. And the Lions had plenty of chances in that last quarter to take the lead, and they didn't. And our contested ball and winning the ball in the contest was much, much better. And they couldn't match it. And I think it was just the tackling pressure and the contested work. So very, very different types of performances for us. And if, like we've been saying the whole pod here, if we can ever get those things to align and we can have that free-flowing footy on the outside but that hard contested footy on the inside, we've got all the attributes to be a great side, but they're young and they don't know where to be. And we're just not clicking fully at the moment. So look, maybe those stars align again against the Dockers. Hopefully that happens. But I don't know, mate. They were very, very different types of performances, to be honest. And what you said before is actually really true, where there's not really an identity under North at the moment with Clarkson. And I think he's building that. I think this year we've been a much better defensive team. And, the offense has been hit or miss, but we're still yet to find that identity. And I can't see what it is, but I hope he's brewing something.
So how do you see this game unfolding then? Give us a prediction. How do you see Saturday night playing out?
Oh, I mean, look, I want to be the optimist, but I don't know if I feel like I can say we're going to get the chocolates after watching what I did on Sunday, to be honest with you. If we are going to win this game, it will be us getting the ball out of the contest and getting it forward and letting your Zerhas, your Larkies and your Curtises going to work. That being said, I do think the Dockers have the arsenal and have pretty good matchups on our players. I am a bit worried with Comben going down. So I think Freo probably get the win here, but I think we earn a bit of respect back after that awful spoon bowl we played. So I'll say the Dockers do win it, but I'll say it's within 2 or 3 goals for me.
Okay, fair play. I want to see the best North side show up. I want to see a good game of footy. I feel like we're sort of going to edge it by 2-3 goals in most quarters. I want to say the Dockers get up by about 32, 33 points. And yeah, I think Paddy Voss could have a bit of a day out, kick 3 or 4. So look out for Vossi and Shea Bolton. Don't know who you're going to send to him or Luke Jackson, to be honest. It's going to be a big day for a lot of players to really show who they are for North, and hopefully the Dockers can thwart them. But really looking forward to it. As I said, I'll be watching it on True Footy with your mate Dylan, so can't wait for that.
Yeah, unreal. Look, that was going to be another question for you. Which individual do you think could star? But if you pick in Voss, I agree. I think he's definitely a name that I haven't heard of very much at all. But the couple of games I've seen play, he's a threat and he's a big boy. And you do have a lot of tall timber up there. So it'll be interesting how many ins and outs we sort of have as well with Common going down. We've got a lot of key position plays in the twos. So, yeah, I wonder how the matchups are going to go. It'll be very interesting.
Maybe bring in, is it Matt Whitlock? Jack Whitlock?
Matt Whitlock, yeah. We got Whitlock. Yeah. We've got Will Dawson, Callan Dawson. I was saying to someone last week that I think our VFL team might be the tallest football team ever recorded because we've got about 10 players who are about 2 meters tall playing in the twos because we've got a lot of key position depth, but none of them are outstanding. And there's still a couple of, like Whitlock and Will Dawson are both first round picks and they're 200 centimeter players, but they're still, Will Dawson's bulked up a lot, but they're sort of not breaking into the side. So, yeah, the matchups are going to be so interesting against the Dockers. But, yeah, look, hopefully it's not the 30-point margin you're predicting, mate. But, look, I would like to be more confident, but we got the win. But that spoon bowl really made me feel like we're not maybe progressing as much as I thought we were, you know?
Yeah, no, I feel you. Tough times to be a North fan, but, 1-1 out in the West, it's not bad going. So... See how we go.
All right. My last question for you, mate, is who is your favourite player to ever play for North Melbourne and Fremantle?
Oh, well, Griffin Logue was a cult figure at Freo.
Was he? Cult hero status?
Loved by the fan base. I know he's not the best player. That'd probably be Peter Bell, but man, we were gutted to see Griff Logue go. He was a heart and soul player. So I'll go with Griff.
Okay, unreal. I think when I Googled, there was only 4 players I found. If anyone else knows out there is listening, please comment below and let us know. But Corey Wagner was on our list.
Yes.
Peter Bell obviously is probably the best out of those. And Griffin Logan, your man, Darcy Tucker as well.
Yep. Did Des Headland play for North or am I making that up?
Who's that, sorry?
Des Headland? Am I making that up?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
He played for Brizzy. I don't know why I thought he played for North for some reason.
Yeah, okay. No, I don't know. They're the only 4 players I could possibly think of. If there's any more really rogue shouts down there, please let me know because that would be hilarious. But hey, that's where we're at. Good old Peter Bell, premiership winner for us. And then
yes.
Off to the Dockers. What a nice guy. Thanks, Peter, for that, by the way. He's like a CEO or like on the board for you guys or something, is he? Or
he was. He's not anymore. He's stepped down this season. But no, he's done great stuff across the Freo and our reserves at Peel as well. He's a really good person. I've met him once or twice, and good fella, good football man, smart geezer. So yeah, big ups Peter Bell. It's the Peter Bell, Griffin Logue, Darcy Tucker, Corey Wagner Cup, baby.
Good luck engraving that guy. Whichever the engraving company is, you got to charge 4 times the amount for those names on that sort of thing. Imagine when Jai Simpkin lifts that cup at the end of the game. That's going to be one of the most emotional moments I've ever seen in AFL history. Oh, dear. All right, mate. Well, look, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you for coming on. I'm sure everyone knows or has seen your work before, but get over to Drewzy's channel on YouTube as well. Does some great stuff, good footy content, and the live stream as well. Do you want to plug the live stream for everyone listening?
Yeah, appreciate you having me, Josh, and all the best for the rest of the season and good luck on the weekend. Yeah, mainly doing work with True Footy at the moment. Just got Jesse moved in. He's living in my place now. So,
Beautiful.
Yeah, we're really building the True Footy channel and doing the live streams with Dylan Alexander, a North creator who's one of the best in the game. So, yeah, just building that. Obviously got the Freo Faithful podcast that I'm building as well. So those are my main two focuses at the moment. But yeah, keep doing what you're doing, Josh. Keep providing good content for the North fans out there, and hopefully your luck turns soon. Because Freo still hasn't, but we're heading in the right direction, and I hope you guys can start to see that improvement soon.
No, I appreciate it, mate. Look, hopefully we can start on the weekend, even though that will make you upset. But hey, we'll see. We'll exchange a message after the game, and one of us will be upset. So that'll be a fun time.
Gone, Freo.
Oh, come on, mate. All right. Thanks, mate. You're a legend.
Cheers.
Thank you so much to Drewzy for coming on. Awesome chat. Great guy. Got him last minute as well, which was fantastic. A few of the listeners did message me and suggest him. So thank you to those who did. Helped me out a lot, to be honest. So fantastic chat. Great bloke. Get over and watch his stuff he's doing with True Footy and everything. It's good. Not many live streams to the quality that they do during AFL games for any club. So get on that. All right, let's get into North. It's going to be very, very interesting with the lineup this week. Live team reaction this week. I'm always expecting to be let down, to be fair, but there's got to be something happening because Chom is out 2 to 3 weeks. We've got to bring in a tall, and this excites me. Callan Dawson, Will Dawson have been flown over, which is very interesting because I wonder why Whitlock's not playing. I think that's maybe the one I would like. I want to see Will Dawson or Whitlock because they are the future. Will Dawson would be my preferred to come in. Callan has come over as well. He played a good game in the VFL last week and is a slightly more senior body. So my gut tells me Callan Dawson plays, but I want Will Dawson in there. You know my dream of Whitlock forward probably isn't going to happen. That is where I think he should be playing because we've got Dawson for down back. Even though in the VFL, they swapped them. And is it working? You tell me. Anyway, other than that, Chom out, Will Dawson in. What other changes would I make? For me, the midfield needs a mega, mega, mega shake-up. Now, I'm not suggesting dropping anybody. I don't think you drop Wardlaw. I know he had a really bad game, but I think he will bounce back. His tackle pressure acts were still through the roof. And Clarkson's press conference today, he did talk about, a contest in the last quarter, the Wardlaw won, and it pushed forward for a goal. And it's those things that only Wardlaw does. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be changing personnel in the midfield, as in who's in the 23, but I would be shuffling things. I want more McKercher in the middle. I know he's fantastic of halfback. I want him to get a few CBAs, or around the ground, I want him around the ball ups and things because we just don't have any finesse. Look at the stats from last week where we dominated clearance, but we did nothing with it. Absolutely nothing with it. And that is because LDU's, Powell's, Parker's, Simpkins, Wardlaws, they're ball accumulators, but they're not ball users. Powell's been pretty good around the ground by hand and by foot, but anytime, and to be fair, I think he's done his best work around the ground this year. I don't think he's done heaps in the guts for us. And that sort of shows with his CBAs, maybe the last month of football. And especially those other guys, Wardlaw's never going to dispose onto Larky's chest. LDU won't, Simpkin probably won't, Wardlaw won't, which is a problem. This is the problem. And this is the problem that I'm going to make a separate video on this at a different time. But the drafting has been a shambles for us. Not that we've drafted bad players, but the fits. You look at Dersman right now, not looking great, doesn't get in the team. If he does, he doesn't do much. We've got 100 players like him. There's problems. So we need to shuffle this. I need more Finn O'Sullivan in the middle. I need more McKercher getting CBAs. I want to throw a Paul Curtis in there, which they've done. I want more Sheasel in there. They're the things I want to mix up because we can't go into a game winning the footy and hacking it forward all the time. If Big X is getting the most center clearances for us, it's not good. Not because he is doing anything wrong, but that means our midfielders are not on, and that is bad. So we need to rectify that. Sheasel, McKercher, O'Sullivan need to get more time around the stoppage so we've got some clean ball users. Get your Parkers, get your Wardlaws, get your LDUs, getting the football and getting it to them, and they can distribute. It just makes so much sense to me, but doesn't seem to happen. Simkin, loved the role he's playing. Some CBAs, but get him forward. He's a goal kicker. He can be damaging, and I like that. So there's not really anyone else really to talk about to bring in. I mean, Cooper Harvey, Teakle. I'd love to see Teakle play. My gut tells me they're not going to play him. Freo's defense, not as tall as their forward line. I would love to see Teakle play, but Clarko in his press conference did hint if Will Dawson plays, he will be playing ruck as well and back up in the ruck. He obviously mentioned Darling can back up in the ruck. So I would love to see Teakle, but I don't think, my gut tells me no. Other than that, a lot of people talking about the Constanti thing splits North fans, right? This is the most polarizing player ever. Pressure acts were higher, one of the highest on the ground. I think he had a good game last week, and then you listen to other people chat and they say he has a bad game. I wouldn't drop him. I'd love to see Zach Banch play, but that's only because he's played one game and kicked 3 goals. Cooper Harvey doesn't play the same type of game, and that is the problem for Cooper. The thing that will hurt Cooper is that he's like a Paul Curtis light. You know, he's like a wish version of Paul Curtis, and we just don't need more of those medium-sized forwards playing. You know what I mean? So I don't think Cooper comes in, unfortunately. He deserves a shot, absolutely, but just fit-wise, if he was like his dad, more a bit smaller, a bit quicker, he'd walk into this team right now, but he's not. All right. That is about all I've got to say on the team. Let's have a look at the lineups and react. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Just as I suspected. In Callum Dawson, out Charlie Comben. Yep. Well, that's a letdown, to be honest with you. Just as I was suspecting. Oh, dear. Yeah, Callum Dawson. What has Will Dawson got to do? I mean, look, I know he's not tearing up trees, but what are these young players who are the future got to do to get a game? Callum Dawson's not going to be in our finals team. And to be fair, we were saying that about Toby Pink, but Toby Pink has been fantastic. So I just can't believe Will Dawson's not playing. Whatever. No Cooper Harvey, no Bryn Teakle. Yep, shock. Robert Hansen Jr. still playing. That's silly. That's very, very silly. So great selections. What? Like I said, live team reaction is always a letdown. Clarkson needs to make some changes. Do something. Whitlock's the future. Dawson is the future. Will Dawson. Callum Dawson's not. Robert Hansen Jr.'s not. What are we doing? Anyway, who cares what I think? Good luck to us. Let's see how we go. God, I wanted to see Will Dawson play. Let me know down below what changes you would have made and how you feel about the changes. I like knowing what you guys think about that. Name who you would have changed, ins and outs, and name how you feel about the team that was named. If you are listening on YouTube, please subscribe. It helps me a lot. Like the video, leave a comment. All that little stuff that is free does help me a lot and makes me know that you guys are enjoying the content as well, which is fantastic. So the more you watch, like, and comment and subscribe, the happier I am, and it's all free. Thank you for supporting the show. Okay, let's get on to, there's not really much news. I mean, Chom, 2 to 3 weeks. He's going to miss. Maybe Callum Dawson is the saving grace, but it's interesting, isn't it? Like, imagine going into this year saying like Logue, Pink, and Dawson. Callum Dawson would be our 3 key defenders at one point. I mean, and Griffin Logue's arguably been the worst out of all of them. So, yeah. But somehow the defense holds up, weirdly holds up. I'm a bit nervous about, the Dockers forward line with Voss, Tracy, and a miss. But hey, let's see what we can do. Not much more North news going around at the moment. I heard an interesting stat. It's not even a stat, it's a fact, right? I guess stats are facts, but you know what I mean. North has only lost 1 game in its last month of football, which is wild. So, win against the Tigers, draw against the Lions, not in this order, but we lost to the Pies and we beat the Eagles. So, and that's all our last 4 games. So we actually we've gained 10 points in the last month of football, which when you look at it on paper and see it's like draw, win, loss, win, you're like, are we better than we think we are? I know the game is gross, but we've kind of got results. So it's a very weird year. I don't blame anyone for thinking that we haven't improved, even though we definitely have. And surely when you're not watching the game and you're emotional, you have to know we've improved this year, just defensively and percentage-wise. And points we've got this year, you can't argue with it. But is it the sexiest and the prettiest and what we want to see? Absolutely not. Let's hope it can change against the Dockers. Okay. That's about it. Thank you to everyone who's come down to the barbershop this week as well. Black and Brown Barbershop in Mitcham if you would like to come down, chat north, and get a haircut. It'd be fantastic. Request Josh online, put further north in the comments so I give you extra special service. Thank you to everyone who came down this week. We had 2 or 3 guys come through. So cool. It's good chatting north in the barbershop. Big Ant is there on Friday and Saturday. The last couple of chances we've got to banter him before they play again. So please come down. Let's laugh at Big Ant. He's a good sport. He's the guy you love to hate and the guy you hate to love. All right, let's tip and get out of here. Saints Western Bulldogs is about to kick off. I mean, you got to say the Bulldogs, don't you? You'd be crazy to pick the Saints. It's got to be the Bulldogs. Bounce back after a loss last week. Hawthorn, Adelaide. This is a tough one. I'm going to go the Hawks. I want the Hawks to lose, but it's in Tassie. It's in Launceston. So because it's down there, I just don't ever see the Hawks losing down there. I wish it was in Adelaide because then I would genuinely pick Adelaide. Brisbane, GWS. I mean, that's also one that I would like to think would be close, but GWS have just been so underwhelming. Need to bounce back after the loss against Port, but I'm going to pick the Lions in that one. Essendon, Geelong. Geelong. Let's not even talk about that. North Melbourne, Freo. I mean, I do think Freo get the chocolates. I'd love to be wrong. And a few weeks ago, I was saying we should be thinking 2 from 2 over here. But Chom out, the way we played against the Eagles. And I just think it's a bit of a matchup nightmare, to be honest, against them. So, unfortunately, Fremantle. Port and Melbourne is very interesting. I'll go Melbourne just because of the form they've been in. Doing a lot better than the start of the year. Still only 14th on the ladder. And 14th versus 15th battle. Wow, with a mediocre cup. Give me the D's because I hate the Power. It is in Adelaide, but the Power are just so rubbish. Screw those guys. And Carlton over West Coast. Let's not beat around the bush here. And I don't want West Coast to win. I'd love to see Carlton lose. I like laughing at them, but I don't want West Coast to win because I need them to stay below us. You know what I mean? And Richmond have the bye. So let's keep them losing. I did listen. I did see on YouTube, if anyone's seen this pop up, that I got obviously Tiger Cast on for the preview pod, and he's doing a series called the North Melbourne death list or something like that. Basically recapping North and trying to get them to, talk about them losing all the time and looking at the draft and all that sort of stuff. Here's one thing I'm going to leave you guys on, right? When people talk to you, he was talking about the picks, they're going to get pick 2 and 3 and all this sort of stuff. Well, as far as I know, most of the top 10 are compromised this year. There's like 8 players who are meant to be in the top part of the draft that are, father, sons, and academies. And it's interesting to see once a big club like Richmond start copying what we've copped for years with not being able to draft the best player in the draft for the last 6 years because they all go to Collingwood and Brisbane. It'll be interesting to see if the league picks up on it because a bigger, louder fan base will be complaining. Realistically, you can talk about the trade being bad for us. One, if there's like 8 picks, say that I've heard a rumor, and I don't know this for sure, so you draft gurus out there, let me know. But there's a chance that like the top 8 are all father, sons, and academies. So pick 1 could be pick 9, or pick 2 could be pick 10, and our pick could be pick 11 in that draft. And then if you spell it out right and you say we traded potentially pick 2 or 3 for pick 27 last year, and Richmond's second rounder, you go, that sounds awful. Let me spin it in a way that is also factually correct or potentially factually correct to make it sound better for us. So this draft coming up is meant to be one of the most shallow and compromised drafts ever. So Richmond could walk away with something like pick 9 and 11 or something like that. We rated Whitlock as a top 15 talent. Whitlock, if the first round's only meant to be 18 picks, right? If it went to 27, that means there was 9, 10 father sons before we picked Whitlock. There was also another pick after that for the first round. So the first round was only 30 picks last year. So that means 12 father sons or 11 father sons and academies were all in the first round. If you don't take the compromisation, we rated Whitlock as a top 15. And without all the compromisation, he was a top 15 pick in the draft if you take all that out. So if you want to spin it in a good way, we traded potentially pick 10, let's say next year, for pick 15, and Richmond's second round pick is actually meant to be pick 19, but because it's going to be compromised and pushed down. But if you word it that way, hey, potentially pick 10 for pick 15 and 19, not that bad, is it? It's all how you structure. It's all how you say it. Very interesting to see all the Tigers fans complain at the end of the year when they don't get all the best players in the draft because they all go to the Swans and the Gold Coast this year. Let's see how they like it, because that's what we've copped for 6 years straight. No wonder we're still at the bottom of the ladder. Anyway, the AFL doesn't care about that because we are small and they do not have any interest in us being a good football club. I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for listening. We'll chat to you very, very soon. We'll be back. Chief should be on for the review podcast after the Freo game. Good luck out there, North fans. I'll chat to you very, very soon. Have a good one. Bye.